back to my video series on the Gren Programming Language. As a reminder, these are very short, very unscripted, very unrehearsed videos that I'm mostly just doing off the cuff because I felt like that was really the only way I was going to get these out there. So we'll see how this goes. Last time I introed Gren mostly talking about installing it, and talked about DevBox a little bit, and we made this application which just spit some text into a browser window. So to get a little bit more into why you might want to use Gren, I need to turn this into a proper application. We're gonna make something that's interactive. It's gonna be kind of a stereotypical application for something like this in programming languages like Gren that use the Elm architecture. It's gonna be a clicker application that has a number, and there'll be a button. It'll be amazing. You click the button, the number will go up. You keep clicking the button, the number will keep going up. To do that, we need to import a new module. We're going to import the browser module, and we're going to change our main function to call a function in the browser module. We're going to call the sandbox function. There's a couple different ways to define browser applications. We're going to do the simplest, which is just a sandbox. I am not going to get too into the weeds about the syntax of Gren. I will in future videos, but for now, just bear with me. I'm going to talk about the high-level concepts. And a sandbox has a record, that's things between these curly braces, with 3 fields. One of them is a init, and it will be assigned to our init function, which I haven't written yet, and update and view. So a record with 3 fields that are assigned to 3 functions, which I'm about to write. These correspond to the 3 concepts in the Elm architecture. If you aren't familiar with that, it's a way to write applications where you have a model, which is the state of your application, and this concept called an update, which is a way to respond to events and update the value of your model, and the view, which is the user interface. Given the current state of your model, here's what the application should look like. Here's how the user interacts with it. So those 3 things are the main concepts. There's a few other things, but for now, that's all you have to worry about. We do need to define a type for our model, and I'm going to use a type alias that I call model. I can call it whatever I want, but you're almost always going to see it called model. And usually you'll see this as a record, but for very, very simple applications like ours, it could just alias another type, and we're going to alias the int type because the entire world, according to our model, is just this number. That's the only thing that changes. That's the only thing we care about is a number and watching that number go up. So our model is going to be an int, and the initial value here, we're defining that init function that I passed to sandbox here. The initial value when we start our application is going to be the tiniest, the babyest little integer, our friend 0. We have to define another type now. All the events that can happen to our system are going to be defined in this message type. And you might see a handful of events, but for ours, it's just going to be one. It's just going to be the click event. That's all we care about. That's the only thing that can affect our model is when somebody clicks our button. And we respond to those events in our update function. The update function will receive the message that was fired. It will receive the current state of our model. This is all handled under the hood by Gren. And it will return a new value of our model. So we're going to match on that message, and when that message is the click event, the only event we care about, but we're still going to write it this way because eventually we'll have more events. But when that message is the click event, we return a new model, which is our current model incremented by 1. And how do those events get fired? They get fired via our view. Our view function, which we're defining now, receives the current state, the current value of our model, and it returns some HTML. And you write HTML in Gren by calling functions in the HTML module that correspond to the element name. We're going to call the div function. The first parameter passed to div is an array of attributes, but this div doesn't have any attributes, so it's just an empty array. The next parameter is another array of all the elements inside that div. We're going to go to the next line for that. The first element in this div will be, that'll be our model. It'll be some text. But our model is an integer, and the text function wants a string, so we need to convert that There we go. The next element in the div will be our button. This will get some attributes. And the first attribute will be our event handler. So I need to import something else. I need to import the events module. I'm going to alias it as event because I don't want to type html.events every time. I can just type event and it'll mean the same thing as HTML events as far as the compiler is concerned. In that event module is an onClick function, and that onClick function wants a message. What message should be fired when somebody clicks this button? Our click message, that's what should happen. The next parameter passed to the button function is all the elements within that button. That's just going to be some text. We'll say the button will just be a plus. It'll be so obvious. You see a number, you see a button with a plus sign next to it. Man, you know, you click that button, that number is going to go up. Click it again, it's going to go up again. I think. Let's see. We've got to compile it to make that happen. And hey, look at that. We have an error. And this is something I like about Gren, is you get very helpful error messages. And it says that it can't find the end of that array that starts at line 36. Let's go check on that. So, yep, sure enough, I did not close my array. And this is something I like about Gren. You're gonna find problems before they end up in somebody's browser window. Let's try again. Hey, it compiled. There's our application. Let me go back to the code real quick so I can show you what we're seeing here. We're seeing 0 because init, we opened the application and it got the initial value of our model, which was 0. We're looking at the user interface to find in the view function, which is just some text, which is our model, and a button, which is here. When we click the button, look at that. It fired the click message, which was handled in our update function, which returned a new model, which was our old model, incremented by 1. What happens if I click it again? Oh my gosh, it's amazing. Look at that number, it's going up. Keeps going up. All right, I'm definitely over 5 minutes. I'm gonna stop it here.